Welcome to today's lesson on exploring language and style. Language style plays a vital role in shaping both meaning and tone in a text. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to, number one, understand what language style means across a range of different text types. You'll be able to analyze how writers create tone and meaning through language. And hopefully, you'll be able to apply these techniques more effectively to your own writing. Let's get started. Now think about the way you speak in different situations. Do you speak the same way to a teacher as you do to a friend? Probably not. Hopefully not. Writers actually make very similar decisions. They will adjust and change their language and their style depending on who their audience is and what the purpose they're writing is. At this stage, I'd like you to pause the video in a moment and decide which of these sentences you think is more formal. I'd like you to look carefully at the word choice and the sentence structure, and when you're ready, resume the video for a breakdown. If you're part of a feedback group, you can add your response using the online link or simply work on paper. And I'd like you to consider two main features. This idea of cause and effect. Okay, pause now. Okay, here you have the correct answer. It's number two. The hike was physically demanding and left me fatigued. Now, the clue I gave earlier on, cause and effect, is often used to create clarity. So you have there the cause, the hike was physically demanding, and the effect, it left me fatigued. Another thing to consider is that formality will often come with an impersonal tone. So, for example, instead of I am fatigued, formal writing might say, This left me fatigued. This tradition of indirect impersonal language stems partly from historical class structures in British society, where it was seen as perhaps clever or refined to not state things directly. Several elements will combine to create a writer's unique style. Let's explore three of the most important. Key factors that influence style include the word choice or diction, and you can think of simple language versus sophisticated vocabulary. You also have sentence structure, which is syntax. For example, short, sharp sentences versus long, complicated ones. The other thing that can influence style is the tone. That is the emotion or attitude behind the words. For example, is it serious? Is it humorous? Is it sarcastic? Understanding how these elements work together will help you write with purpose and precision, but it will also help you understand the choices that the writer you are looking at has made. Okay, a quick question here. Choose a sentence that creates a stronger image in your mind. Which one for you shows a more descriptive style? Pause here. Okay, now the answer that we would choose would be A. The wind howled through the empty streets, compared to it was windy outside. Now, the reason for that choice is the first one uses much more interesting language that is perhaps more evocative. And evocative is another way of saying it brings something out of the reader's imagination. The word howled is a very active word. It brings to mind a particular sound. So if you think of the word howled, I imagine there's an animal in your mind right now. That process of personification, i.e., making an inanimate object seem as if it has life or agency, is partly why the first choice is much more descriptive. It gives you an image. It almost starts to make you think of things that are alive, that have agency, that have choices. Makes it feel like there's an animal going through the streets howling. And of course, we have the second word, empty, gives us a much greater, clearer description of what it is like in these streets. Again, quick question or quick task. I'd like you to pause the video in a moment and jot down your thoughts. Comparing these two passages, how do you think the style differs? Between passage A, the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a fiery glow, and passage B, night time arrived and the sky turned to dark. So you're going to identify the differences in word choice, sentence structure, and tone. And also think about this. How does each passage make you feel? Pause now. Okay. Now, when you're writing what you've written, I'd like you to compare the words you've used and your analysis with what we have on the screen. Basically, did your analysis match ours? So, your model answer could contain some of these elements. Passage A used a more descriptive language, and there are some examples there, like dipped and a fiery glow, to create imagery. The words it used help to describe a picture or create a picture that hopefully is taken or evoked from the reader's mind. Now, passage B is actually more factual and more neutral. There aren't any images there. There isn't any evocative language meant to make the reader feel anything. It's just a statement of fact. Now, again, this is not about saying which paragraph or sentence, sorry, is more interesting or better. But remember, depending on your purpose and depending on your audience, passage A or passage B might be the better choice. If you were writing factually, if you were writing a report, passage B would definitely be the better choice. If you were writing a diary or a book or even an informal letter to a friend, passage A would be far more interesting. Pause here and have a go at this task. I'd like you to rewrite the sentence below in two completely different styles. So, the sentence is, she walked into the room and saw the mess. Now, the first way I'd like you to rewrite it is in a formal descriptive style. A formal descriptive style. The second way I'd like you to write it is an informal conversational style. And there's a little bit of scaffolding for you at the bottom there. I'd like you to think about the word choice that you're using. I'd like you to think about sentence structure. And I'd also like you to adjust the tone. And remember what we said about tone, how sometimes writing in the first person can change things compared to writing in the second person or third. Remember, small differences, small changes can create a big difference in tone and impact. Pause here. Okay, and welcome back. So, you've had a chance now to look at and understand how writers use different styles, different methods to shape the meaning and the tone of their writing. As a final challenge, I'd like you to choose a short article from any news website or blog, and I'd like you to analyze it. I'd like you to think about what style it uses. I'd like you to think about the audience that it's aiming for. I'd like you to work out how it is you know this. So, drawing things to a close, today we've explored a couple of things. We've explored what language style means. We've talked about how to identify different styles, and we've talked about how to adapt your writing for different audiences. So, good luck with the independent task. Think about your choice of language, think about the level of formality, and try to use or avoid description depending on what your audience is and what is the purpose for which you are writing. Thank you very much for listening. You can explore more with us at www.gtgeducate.co.uk. We routinely run classes, revision groups, and are available for one to one online or group tuition. Good luck.